She adjusted her diamond necklace, pretending to enjoy the gala. Chandeliers sparkled, elite mingled, yet a hollow ache lingered. Life seemed flawless, but behind closed doors, shadows of doubt quietly festered. The laughter around her felt distant, like a fragile echo. She smiled politely, masking the tension in her chest. Every glance from her husband pierced her carefully constructed calm. Beneath the glittering gowns and polished shoes, she noticed whispered glances, the subtle smirks aimed her way. A gnawing sense of unease grew. Tonight, something was off. Her husband approached, arm draped possessively around another woman. The room seemed to tilt, conversations fading into a blur. Heat rose to her cheeks from the sharp sting of betrayal. As the band played, he raised his glass, his toast meant for her humiliation. The crowd laughed politely, oblivious to her inner turmoil. Every word felt like a blade. She excused herself, heart pounding, retreating to the quiet of the terrace. Cool night air brushed her face, but it did little to soothe the fire within. Her mind replayed every slight, every whispered insult, every smirk she had endured. The gala's sparkle now felt like a cage. A plan was forming, quiet, precise, devastating. She returned inside, mask of composure firmly in place. No one could see the storm brewing beneath her calm exterior. Every smile was measured, every word carefully chosen. Later, alone in their grand suite, she poured a glass of champagne, letting the bubbles mirror the agitation in her chest. The city lights glittered below, indifferent. She began researching quietly, uncovering his financial missteps and hidden dealings. Each discovery fueled her resolve. Every spreadsheet became a weapon in the silent war. Under the guise of attending charity events and social galas, she observed him closely, noting patterns, alliances, and weaknesses. Every word became data for her plan. She enrolled in private finance courses online, studying late into the night. Terms like leverage, liquidity, and risk became familiar allies, sharpening her dangerous confidence. At home, she played the dutiful wife, listening more than speaking. He boasted, unaware she was mapping every flaw. Each careless word tightened the noose. She moved money into accounts he couldn't touch, restructuring assets under shell companies. Every signature was deliberate, every transfer invisible. Rumors began circulating in elite circles, questions about cash flow, delayed payments, strained partnerships. She guided conversations like a conductor leading an orchestra. The market reacted swiftly. Stock prices wavered. Board members grew nervous. He came home irritable, blaming incompetence around him. She offered comfort, hiding a smile. When the first major investor pulled out, panic surfaced. He snapped at staff, burned bridges, demanded loyalty. She watched calmly, knowing desperation accelerates destruction. She released the final blow anonymously, documented proof of falsified reports and hidden debts. By morning, regulators were involved. His empire trembled on the edge. He confronted her, eyes wild, demanding to know who betrayed him. She met his gaze steadily, unafraid. In that moment, he realized the truth, not through words, but through her silence. The bankruptcy filing was public, humiliating, irreversible. The same society that applauded him at the gala now whispered his name with pity. She attended none of it. In the end, she walked away wealthier, not just in money, but in self-command. The mask she once wore was gone. She had reclaimed her power quietly. The city skyline shimmered as she sipped her morning coffee, alone yet entirely unburdened. Memories of humiliation lingered, but they were now reminders of her strength. Her phone buzzed with offers, business opportunities, partnerships, even investments. She smiled, knowing she now held the reins of her destiny. Late at night, she reflected on the gala, the laughter, the shame. It all seemed distant now, like a story someone else had lived. The quiet revenge was complete. She bought a small, private villa by the coast, a place to retreat and dream. Inside, the walls echoed with laughter and freedom, not fear. Her past life was behind her. Every encounter with former associates reminded her, respect and power are earned, not inherited. The man who humiliated her had underestimated patience and strategy. As the sun rose over her new life, she felt a profound sense of peace. She had faced shame, plotted meticulously, and emerged victorious. She finally allowed herself to laugh freely again. It wasn't relief, it was the laughter of someone who turned pain into power. Alone in her villa, looking out over the sparkling ocean, she whispered, "I am unstoppable." And for the first time in years, she truly believed it. She began mentoring young women in business, sharing lessons of strategy, resilience, and self-reliance. Her story became legend in elite circles. Invitations to high-profile events resumed, but now she attended on her own terms. Every appearance was a statement, she needed no validation, her power was inherent. Old friends reached out, seeking guidance. She listened patiently, offering wisdom without revealing the full extent of her past vengeance. One evening, she strolled along the beach, wind tugging at her hair. The memory of that humiliating gala felt surreal, almost like a distant story. Her husband's downfall had faded into gossip, she rarely thought of him. The life she reclaimed, the freedom she earned, and her capability became her true inheritance. She poured herself a glass of wine, the sunset painting the horizon in golds and pinks. Each sip reminded her, power does not always roar. Sometimes it whispers quietly, meticulously, and changes everything. With a serene smile, she closed her eyes, reflecting on the journey. From public humiliation to ultimate triumph. She had not only regained wealth. She had gained mastery over her own destiny. Friends and colleagues admired her composure and insight. Invitations flowed, but she chose carefully. Her presence now shifted dynamics silently. She invested in emerging businesses, mentoring women while quietly acquiring stakes in lucrative ventures. Every decision was strategic. Evenings became her sanctuary. She wrote in journals, documented strategies, and reflected on lessons learned. The pain of the past transformed into clarity. Occasionally, she revisited the gala in her mind, the laughter, the sneers, but no emotion arose. It was a story of the past, a lesson etched into her identity. She poured a glass of wine and watched the sunset, feeling the satisfaction of a life reclaimed and mastered entirely on her terms. Her mornings began with meditation and planning, grounding herself before the day's ventures. Each moment of calm reinforced her clarity and focus. She nurtured her mind and body alike, understanding that true power comes from discipline, clarity, and unwavering self-belief. The empire she built, carefully reconstructed from the ruins of his arrogance, now flourished beyond what she had imagined. Each decision reinforced her autonomy, her knowledge, and her command over her own destiny. Late at night, she strolled along the beach, the waves whispering secrets of patience and perseverance. The humiliation that once defined her was now a distant memory, replaced by the satisfaction of a life reclaimed and mastered. She received a letter from a former business rival, now seeking partnership. She smiled, reading between the lines, respect and fear intertwined. The villa by the coast became a haven for reflection and strategy. Ocean waves whispered reminders that storms eventually give way to calm and opportunity. She revisited memories of the gala, the laughter, the humiliation, the betrayal. No bitterness lingered, only clarity. Even her husband's presence in the social sphere was now a shadow of the past. Occasionally, she noted him in headlines, but indifference replaced anger. Invitations to exclusive events arrived, yet she curated them carefully. She engaged only when it aligned with her vision. Night settled over the coast, stars reflected in the ocean. She sipped her wine, a serene smile on her face. Triumph had been transformed into freedom. She drafted plans for new ventures, confident and bold. Every decision was precise, every move calculated. She no longer feared exposure or failure. Her days were now filled with purpose. Meetings, investments, and strategy sessions replaced anxiety and doubt. Occasionally, she glimpsed him in the headlines, his empire crumbled, his reputation tarnished. A brief smile crossed her lips. Evenings became her sanctuary. She wrote in journals, documented strategies, and reflected on lessons learned. She whispered a vow, to never be undermined, humiliated, or underestimated again. She had mastered revenge, but more importantly, she had mastered herself. Friends and colleagues admired her composure and insight. Invitations flowed, but she attended selectively. Her reputation carried authority and silent influence. She invested in emerging businesses, mentoring women while quietly acquiring stakes in lucrative ventures. Every decision reinforced her independence. Even charity galas no longer intimidated her. She attended selectively, with elegance and quiet authority. Heads turned, not because of scandal, but because of her presence. One afternoon, she reviewed her financial empire. Every investment, acquisition, and portfolio move reflected patience, intelligence, and an eye for opportunity. She reflected on the journey, humiliation, plotting, patience, and triumph. Every step had required discipline, courage, and foresight. As the sun rose over her new life, she felt a profound sense of peace. She had faced shame, plotted meticulously, and emerged victorious. She finally allowed herself to laugh freely again. It wasn't relief, it was the laughter of someone who had turned pain into power. Alone in her villa, looking out over the sparkling ocean, she whispered to herself, "I am unstoppable." She began teaching private workshops for ambitious women, sharing lessons of strategy, resilience, and discretion. Her story inspired others, not for scandal, but for quiet strength. Invitations to exclusive gatherings continued, yet she attended selectively. Her presence alone commanded respect, influence now came quietly. Evenings were serene, spent with books, reflection, and the soft hum of the ocean outside. Pain had transformed into clarity and unshakable self-confidence. She reviewed her ventures and investments carefully. Each move reinforced autonomy, acumen, and command over her destiny. The memory of the gala, the laughter, the sneers, the humiliation, felt distant. Lessons learned had fortified her, transforming past pain into insight. She whispered a private affirmation, "I am unbreakable." Alone, she smiled, knowing true strength comes not from revenge alone. She traveled to coastal towns and quiet retreats, finding inspiration in solitude and beauty. Freedom tasted sweeter than any applause. Her protégés thrived under her guidance, applying lessons of patience, strategy, and subtle influence. Their successes became a testament to her quiet power. Gala invitations arrived, yet she chose wisely. Attending selectively, she moved through elite circles with effortless authority. Late nights were devoted to journaling, capturing insights and strategies. The journey from humiliation to empowerment became a blueprint. Occasionally, she revisited the gala in her mind, the laughter, the sneers, but no bitterness remained. The moments were lessons etched into her resilience. The sun set over the ocean, painting the sky in gold and crimson. She smiled, knowing she had transformed betrayal into wisdom and strength. Her mornings began with meditation, strategy, and planning. Every decision reinforced autonomy, intelligence, and foresight. Even social engagements became exercises in subtle influence. Conversations were measured, leaving lasting impressions without ostentation. Occasionally, she glimpsed headlines featuring her former husband. She felt no triumph, only quiet affirmation that justice had been delivered with precision. Walking along her villa's terrace, she reflected on her journey. Humiliation had been transformed into strength and every challenge into mastery. At night, she raised a glass to herself. Victory had been achieved, but true fulfillment lay in freedom, self-mastery, and unshakable confidence. She hosted intimate dinners for trusted friends, fostering genuine connections rather than superficial admiration. Laughter replaced tension and pretense. Her protégés thrived under her guidance. Each success mirrored the quiet power she had cultivated through intelligence and foresight. Even gala invitations no longer dictated her choices. Attending selectively, her presence was commanding without effort, a testament to competence. Late nights were spent in reflection and journaling. The journey from humiliation to empowerment became a personal blueprint for resilience. Memories of the gala, the smirk, the laughter, the whispers, were now distant echoes. They were lessons. shaping her strength, strategy, and self-assurance. On her balcony, watching the ocean, she whispered, "I am in control. I am free. I am unstoppable." She felt completely whole and empowered. She explored new business ventures, blending creativity with strategy. Every decision reinforced independence and influence. Mornings were dedicated to meditation and planning. Each moment of calm strengthened clarity, focus, and decisiveness. In social settings, she radiated quiet authority. Conversations were purposeful, insights shared sparingly, leaving lasting impressions. Occasionally, she read about her former husband's failures. She felt no satisfaction, only quiet assurance that her strategy and patience had prevailed. She walked through her coastal Dilla's gardens, the ocean breeze mingling with the scent of flowers. Every challenge had been transformed into wisdom. At night, she raised a glass, savoring mastery. Humiliation had been converted into empowerment, betrayal into insight, and her past into a foundation for freedom. She traveled to secluded retreats, finding peace and inspiration in nature. Freedom and self-reflection became her greatest joys. Her protégés continued to flourish under her mentorship. Their successes silently echoed her intelligence, patience, and strategic guidance. Gala invitations came, but she selected events carefully. Attending showcased quiet authority, commanding respect through presence and intellect. Late nights were devoted to journaling and planning. Lessons from past humiliation became blueprints for resilience and mastery of her life and empire. Memories of the gala, the sneers, laughter, and whispers, were distant echoes. They no longer held power over her, serving as reminders of growth and cunning. Standing on her balcony, watching the sunset over the ocean, she felt complete. Every calculated move and patient step had led to freedom and fulfillment. She curated a private art collection, each piece chosen for its beauty and meaning. The process celebrated taste, intellect, and freedom to indulge passions. Her mornings were structured with meditation, planning, and reflection. Every decision reinforced autonomy, every action reflected intelligence and foresight. Even social events became exercises in subtle influence. Conversations were measured, insights shared sparingly, leaving lasting impressions. She glimpsed headlines of her former husband, now diminished. She felt no triumph, only quiet affirmation that justice had been delivered. Walking along her villa's terrace, she reflected on her journey. Humiliation had been transformed into strength, betrayal into wisdom. At night, she raised a glass to herself. Victory had been achieved, but true fulfillment lay in freedom, self-mastery, and unshakable confidence. She hosted intimate dinners for trusted friends, fostering genuine connections rather than shallow admiration. Laughter replaced tension and pretense. Her protégés thrived under her guidance. Each success mirrored the quiet power she had cultivated through intelligence and foresight. Even gala invitations no longer dictated her choices. Attending selectively, her presence was commanding without effort, a testament to competence. Late nights were spent in reflection and journaling. The journey from humiliation to empowerment became a personal blueprint for resilience. Memories of the gala, the smirk, the laughter, the whispers, were now distant echoes. They were lessons shaping her strength, strategy, and self-assurance. Standing on her balcony, ocean waves reflecting starlight, she whispered, "I am unstoppable, I am free, I am complete." Triumph was hers, but freedom was her true reward.